All right, check test 1, 2. Looks like the mic's working. Let me just run over here real quick and just double check. It is 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And we got a good show tonight, I think. We're going to be... All right. Yeah, great. Sounds good. We're going to be talking about some solar stuff. Tim Myers, who is a longtime viewer and also a moderator on this channel, sent a spreadsheet. He is working on a multi-phase upgrade project on his 2007 Class A. And he sent me the spreadsheet that he was doing the calculations on to estimate how much solar and battery and so on and so forth he's going to need. And so we're going to chat about that tonight. Before I get to that, though, I got a couple things I want to talk about. I'm just going to hang around here for a few minutes. I usually like to wait and kind of get folks kind of joined in so they don't have to join in the middle of stuff. So, yeah, we got to about 3 inches of snow last night, and they're calling for 4 to 6 more Thursday into Friday. So it looks like winter's here. We'll go over and check in the chat window and see who all's here tonight. We've got Gary D's in from Arizona, EJ Weiss, Tom Downey's in, as well as Tim Myers is here. Let's see who else has checked in. Oh, we got Eric Myers has made it down to Arizona. Welton. Where's Welton, Eric? And then Vincent RV Life. Bruce is checking in from the Florida Panhandle. I think that's probably where you winter, isn't it, Bruce? So, yeah, I'm jealous of all of you that are in the warmer temperatures for sure. It's currently 19. 18 out there. What's 1 degree between friends when it's that cold, right? So I did have a comment that has been made several times, and I finally got irritated about this because it came up a couple times on one of the videos on my holding tank maintenance method called the BioGeo method, eliminating black tank odors. And several people had mentioned to me that there's a video out there that speaks about how the borax just hardens and clumps and doesn't really ever dissolve. And so, like I said, I kind of got irritated. Somebody had made that comment again today, so I went out and I found a couple of those videos. And here's the thing. First off, the 2 videos that I found were trying to sell you something else. Okay? So that first thing right there makes me suspicious. But the second thing is they were putting like a half a cup of borax in what looked like a gallon of water, maybe a gallon of water. And so what you're doing there, and I don't want to get too technical, but you're making a supersaturated solution. And any time you make a supersaturated solution of anything, it's not going to totally dissolve. And that much borax in a gallon of water will never totally dissolve. When you put it in the tank, you're talking 10, 15, 20, 30 gallons, maybe more. It's totally going to dissolve. And the way it works is when you put it in the tank, as the concentration of water, as the amount of water in that tank increases, more of that borax will dissolve into the solution, okay? And so it acts like a time release in your tank. And that's really how it works. Now, if you're over-treating your tank, yeah, you could probably have problems. I mean, if you're putting a cup in every time of borax, the only time I ever mention that is if I'm telling people to soak their tanks. So I'm going to just poo-poo the videos that I finally found about that, and we're going to move on from there. I do have planned to release, in fact, I'm working on it now, among other things, a complete update to that video. Should be out like probably right around the 1st March. So fingers crossed that the rivers don't rise and things don't come up that stop me from doing that. Going back to the chat just to see who's in. Scott W. from Pensacola. Hey, Scott. Oh, he's got a 2002 SNS. Excellent, Scott. Yeah, happy to have you here. I'm sure enjoying that project. Wish I was working on it, but it's too damn cold. And it doesn't look like I'll get back to it till, well, probably spring at this point. There's some stuff I'll be able to work on in the garage, some restoration types of things I'm going to be doing on some of the interior pieces. But I also have probably at least 8 to 10 weeks of videos still to release. I've got like 3 in the works right now. In real time, it's cold, it's sitting covered up with tarps. Where I'm at is I'm just finishing putting the cabinets together on the inside, getting it kind of reassembled so I can get started on the electrical. I need to get the cabinets in place because I'm going to be using one of the cabinets, the one wall of it is an electrical chase, so I can hide all the wires coming down from the roof. So yeah, I'm happy to have you along, Scott. Thanks for joining. And I'm always interested in people's rigs and their photos, so if you want to brag, send me some pictures. That would be awesome. Too, we're going to talk about your email. So good to see you. Anyway, trbolin@gmail.com if you want to send photos of your rig so I can share them with the audience. Always happy to do that. It's kind of fun to let people share their rigs, and I enjoy it. Hope you do too. Oh, Eric says Welton is 30 miles east of Yuma. Okay, I kind of got a sense for where you're at. Somewhere between like Quartzsite and Yuma, out in that area. That doesn't look like too bad a place. Roundtown Scouter's in from Carlsbad. Hi, guy. Daryl Taz checking in from the snowy part of Oregon. Well, Daryl, I'm in the snowy part of Idaho. Scotty says he's running late. He's on his way to see me soon. You'll be passing through eastern Idaho. And Two Feathers. Yeah, hi, Two. Okay, so real quick, Two Feathers last week had brought up an issue. Then we'll get over and talk about Tim's solar stuff. But yes, Two Feathers had asked a question about the trailer hitch. Excuse me, the trailer hitch on her rig, being able to pack her son's motorcycle. She has a desire, and her son does, to travel with her this year, and so she's been trying to research and figure out whether or not her trailer hitch would carry his motorcycle. And so I think it was 462 pounds was the number that she was kicking around. And I'm just looking here. I thought I had it open. I don't. I didn't. So sorry. Give me just a second here. It'll show up. All right. Have to do it the hard way. Here we go. Yeah, tongue weight. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and pop this open here so everybody can see it. And then I will come over here. I got to do a little bit of reorganizing on my desktop. And then, of course, I'll get back to the chat here in just a moment. Alrighty, so, oops, I got an error here. Hang on a minute here. Let's see if I can fix that real quick. I might have to build a new one here. Just a minute. Sorry about that. I got a new monitor, and there we go. That's better. And it's I got to do a little bit of reorganizing here for just a second. I'll probably have to do that for Tim's stuff too. I hadn't tried it on this application that I use. So let's see here if I can remember how to. Let's see. Where is that? I'm sorry. I thought I had this ready to go. Apparently I don't. Obviously I don't. All right. I'm not going to be able to do that from there. Okay. Let's see here. Properties. Maybe that'll let me there. Okay. All right. Okay, so all right, we're getting there. Sorry about this, folks, but we'll have it here in a minute. All right, there we go. Okay, so this will work real temporarily for a moment temporarily here. I can probably now, you should be able to see that. Okay, yeah, I think we're in good shape now. Okay, so she sent these manuals. Let me come over here. Come on. And so she has the owner's manual, and what she's showing me here is she found the specifications and capacities for her specific rig, and all of the stuff going on there. And so I think they decided that it's a 500 pounds max on this. Two feathers. What we were concerned about were the mounting bolts. You see how it mounts right here. Can everybody see that? Okay, it looks like you can. And there's just 3 little mounting bolts. So that's a lot of weight to be hanging on those bolts. That's the only concern that I have. And let's see. All right, we don't have time to look through all that. Okay, but as she says right here, it's got it underlined. I can see if I can zoom in on that a little bit. All Winnebago industry models equipped with a Class 4 hitch have a label limiting vertical tongue load to 500 pounds on a 228 inch and so on and so forth. All right, so what that's what she discovered there is that, yeah, she can carry that bike on her motorhome. Right. Back to the chat here real quick just to see if I missed anybody. Tom, I don't know. You know, you and I have had serious problems connecting on email. Are you spelling my name correctly? Because we did get, I think, one email through on one of my accounts. And I promise you, I am not blocking you. I am not ignoring you. I just don't know why we don't seem to be able to get email back and forth. But I've just checked both of my primary accounts, and I don't see anything from you with pictures, unfortunately. So, okay, let's get over and let me just work on getting Tim's stuff up here. So what Tim Myers is working on is, let me pull this back up. Okay, can you see that? I think maybe I could probably make that just a touch bigger. How does that look on the stream? Can everybody see the numbers clearly, and does everything look okay there? It should change here in a minute for y'all. There's a little latency. So let me know if you can read that spreadsheet on the live stream nicely. All right, I'll just hang here for a minute. They do, Eric, but it's probably not that significant. So Eric Myers had commented, don't bumps add weight to the tongue weight. It does, but it probably won't be that big a deal. Alrighty, so we're going to go ahead and just assume that we can see what we're talking about here. And so this is a spreadsheet that Tim put together because he is doing a multi-part upgrade to his 2007 Journey that includes like new DC to DC charge controller, some solar, inverter potentially down the road, and a bunch of stuff like that. And so one of the first things you've got to do, maybe I could do this real quick for you folks, just 1 second. Give me just 1 second here and see. All right, yeah, okay. What I can do though, okay. Okay, I was going to try to do something else here, but this seems like it's going to work okay. But one of the first things you have to do is you need to calculate sort of what your expected use of power is going to be in your situation. Now, this particular, a spreadsheet like this, which I'm sure that Tim could send us a copy of it that I could share with folks if you want it. But this is basically the starting point for trying to size a system. Either an inverter charger, solar, and those sorts of things. And so the first thing you need to do before you can do any of that is you need to sit down and you need to figure out what your power usage is. And that's what this spreadsheet is designed to help you do, is to figure out what your power usage is. The general idea is you'll come over here under the item and then you'll add things in there that you know that you'll be using. When I say off-grid, let's just say off-grid means you're not plugged in at the RV park. You're totally living off your battery system, okay? All right, so that being said, this is a way to go through and estimate how much power you're going to need. Tim said he's open to suggestions on this, and I'll probably make a few here. But in general, this spreadsheet's pretty good, but I struggle with this just a little bit because I generally tend to think of these things in amp hours rather than watt hours. All right, I'm going to go ahead and run with this the way it is because that's the way this spreadsheet is. I thought about maybe if I get a few minutes tomorrow, going through and tweaking this spreadsheet a little bit to use amp hours. It'll just make it easier for me. I'm just so used to working in amp hours. What's the difference? Not much. You can convert them back and forth easy enough, but when I'm just looking at things, I just prefer to look at it in amp hours. Okay? That's a personal preference thing. That being said, we're going to start here with the microwave. It's a typical item that you're going to have in almost any off-grid application. Obviously, you need a quantity. The source voltage 120. We're going to assume that 1600 watts. That's a lot for a microwave, unless it's one hellaciously big microwave. So I think I'm going to roll that back to 1100. Okay. Now, okay, thanks. I got that, Tim. I'm kind of I'm trying to monitor the chat at the same time. So we're going to drop that down to 1100. That's a pretty good size microwave. All right. Cell phone chargers. You want to try to get everything that you're going to possibly be using. And so cell phone chargers, 6 watts. That sounds about right at 120 volts. TV entertainment, I think your hours used per day is a little low, because what you've got to do is you need to figure out the device, its rating. What this number here is in the green column is DC watts with percent inverter loss. There's a bit of a problem here. We're going to talk more about that in a minute. So for right now, let's ignore that column. Hours used per day, half an hour. That sounds about right. I mean, I don't know. I just think about, how I use my microwave. And yeah, maybe a half an hour a day. That might be a little of an overestimate, but that's fine. Which takes me to a side note here. When we talk about overestimating, that I like to do once I get everything kind of dialed up. So when I want to build in extra slop, overhead, whatever you want to call it, I do that at the end rather than trying to mess around with overestimating the actual appliance or the actual source of the actual user of the electricity. I try to get pretty close, and then I'll add on at the end. When we get to the end of this discussion, you'll see how I do it, to give myself a little bit of overhead, a little bit of extra room, if you will. All right, so that all adds up to 611 watt hours per day. And this battery amp hours had me a little confused. I think it's because they're just taking this number here and dividing it by this, okay, by 12 volts to get you your amp hours. And that actual number concerns me a little bit. And here's why. Not every inverter, in fact, very few inverters we're going to run at an efficiency of 90%. Okay, let's look over here, inverter efficiency. So let's talk about inverter efficiency for just a second and what that means. When you take 12 volt power and invert it to 120, there's a significant amount of loss in that conversion, much of it in heat. Okay, 90% is the nominal maximum efficiency of the average inverter. So I went out real quick before the stream started, and I went to Renogy and I looked at theirs, and theirs was nominal 90%. Okay, I went to Xantrex. They were saying nominal 90% maximum efficiency. All right. The problem is heat. Anytime anything electrical starts to get warm, the efficiency of that appliance goes down. So it actually takes more power to do the same amount of work. All right. So I'm going to bump this inverter efficiency down to 85. And I think that still is a little high, but we're going to go to 85. All right, and that should adjust some of these numbers. Now, when you're converting 1100 watts of power and you're driving that from 12 volts DC, I'll get it out here. I'm trying to really simplify this. 1100 watts AC would require closer to 140 amps of DC power, all right, which is about 1600 watts, all right. So I have a little concern with this number here, Tim. The general concept works, but I think this going from watts to DC watts is really problematic, and it would tend to underestimate what you're going to need as far as your system goes. I hope that makes sense to everybody. All right, let me flip back over here and I'll show you what I'm talking about again. All right, so this number here, they're converting to DC watts with trying to accommodate the inverter loss by inverting that power. I set it to 85. I'm going to actually go down to 80. And that's getting a little closer. Now, how do I know these numbers? Because I ran a number of electrical tests on my Class A with I have a 3,000 watt inverter. It's a Xantrex. It's 85%, 88% efficient, something like that. And I have a 1,000 watt electric kettle. And I was doing a bunch of recording for an episode that I really never did get put together. It just got too complicated. The long and short of it is, as the appliance heats up, it eats more power to do the same amount of work. And I would see somewhere around 150 to 170 amps of electricity, DC power, is how much it would take to make 1100 watts of AC power because of what they call the conversion loss. So not only does the efficiency of the inverter impact the conversion of 12 volts to 110 or 120, but the temperature of the equipment also has a huge impact on it, okay? And it's not a constant. So it might start out at, say, 88% efficient, but as the equipment heats up, as you start to draw more current, that efficiency number is going to go down, all right? The net effect is it's going to underestimate how much power you're going to need. All right, I just want to make sure that we're all really clear on that particular point, because when I get to the end, we're going to adjust for that. So just stay with me. All right, back to the spreadsheet here. I think I've kind of got my points across about inverter loss, efficiencies, and so on and so forth. in that this number is going to be greatly underestimated in my humble opinion. Okay. However, we look down laptop computers, 65 watt power supplies, 162.5, 3 hours a day. So they're saying 40 amp hours. Okay, this is the number that we're going to land on right here, this battery amp hours. So we're talking 40 here. The water pump is a 12 volt device. Okay, so we have no conversion efficiency, right? So the looks like it's 10 amps with it being rated at 120 watts. And so it is 10 amp hours to run at 1 hour. I think that's a lot of runtime on a pump like that in a 24-hour period. So I'm going to muck that down to 6.625. Oops. And I'll get one too many points in there. Okay, that's about 40 minutes. Lights, 15, 12 volts. I'm assuming that's 3 watts a piece for the lights. That's a lot of lights. All right, that's a lot of lights to be running all day for 4 hours. Okay, so I think let's cut that in half. So let's just say 8. The refrigerator is a 12 volt. Remember, the refrigerator will be 12 volt as the control voltage. All right, unless it's specifically a 12 volt fridge that cools on 12 volts, which are rare. The 12 volts is only to run the power supply and the smarts of the fridge. Okay, so that is a very low number. I'm assuming that this is indicating that it's 138 watts. That is a lot, and that would be assuming that the refrigerator is cooling on DC. Okay, is everybody following me on that one? So Tim, okay, 12 volt DC compressor. Okay, cool. Then that's appropriate for you. For the average Joe, that's probably going to be a much lower number. Okay, so the refrigerator smarts, okay, the power supply and the smarts to run the computer and that kind of stuff, is like 2 to 3 amps. And so that number is going to be pretty low. Now, where you might get into an issue is if you're going to be running a refrigerator off of 110, all right, and we're going to assume that it's 300 watts. Oops, I got a fat finger in there, sorry about that. And we're going to assume that it's going to run 4 hours a day. Okay. Back up here, the range hood fan for an hour. That seems a little long, but it's okay. Vent fans for 4 hours. We'll leave it at that. Propane furnace. I think let's put that to 0. Okay, we're going to assume that you're going to be doing most of your camping during the summer. Yeah, some people do work camp in the winter. I'll give you that. We're good to go with that. When it all comes down to is that in Tim's system, I'm going to drop this back out, okay, because I just wanted to illustrate it. We end up using 334 amp hours a day. And Tim, that is the number that I would feel very comfortable with you using because that's about what I would run on my RV exclusive of my computer that I ran. Okay? I hope that makes sense. So this is, again, just the first step of planning your system. I want to go back over and chat about this just a little bit more. This solar panel estimation, I do want to talk about solar panels, okay? Because this is kind of hidden in here. I couldn't really figure out what all of the math was, and I didn't take time because it's an if statement and it's like overcomplicated. You never get 100% efficiency on your solar panels all day long, period. End of conversation, right? You get 100% efficiency at one instant during the day, and that's at solar noon, okay? When the sun is perpendicular to the solar panel, there's not a cloud in the sky, there's no dust in the sky, the panels are perfectly clean, you're going to get the full wattage out of that panel. And that is the only time of the day that you're ever going to get that. The rest of the day, that sun is going to be at differing angles, which changes how much power the panel can make. It's a really complicated mathematical formula that goes into, depending upon your latitude, your longitude, your latitude and your longitude, but latitude mostly, and a bunch of other stuff. And I couldn't really figure out what they were doing here by timesing some of these out and all of this. I couldn't make sense out of this. But assuming 5 hours a day, it's really confusing to me. 1145 watts sounds like it's in the ballpark, Tim. The solar charge panel, but the issue I run into is you're showing, 1145 solar watts. But down here on this, it shows 1500 for the solar panels at 48 volts. Which is kind of an unusual voltage, okay? Unless you're specifically going to find 48 volt panels, which I think you're going to find to be difficult. I think you're going to be more likely to find panels that are either 12 or 24 volts, all right? And yeah, you can parallel these and get to 48 volts, but that's going to change amperages and various other things. And so I'm going to just assume that works as it is because I can't figure out the math on that one either. Okay? Other than to just say, because they're doing something up here and I couldn't figure out what they were trying to accomplish there when I looked at this spreadsheet. But when it comes to solar charge controllers, remember, if you have a 1500 watt array, there's only one moment of one day on the, by the way, and on the summer solstice, I forgot to add this part in. All right, the only day you're ever going to get the maximum amount of solar power out of your solar panels is on June 20th, the summer solstice, at solar noon, with a wide open panel, perfectly clean, etc., 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 etc. The rest of the time, you're always going to get less than that. So sizing your solar charge controller to the size of your array is sort of a false economy. All right? In this particular case, you're probably not talking about a huge amount of money to go from, say, a 40 amp solar charge controller to a 35 or a 30 amp solar charge controller. So I would say that a 40 amp solar charge controller in this particular system would probably be okay. All right. Oh, it looks like Tim's in working on the spreadsheet. How about that? That's pretty cool that we can collaborate on it. Let's see. What else did I want to chat about here? Hello, Sandvan. Let me run back over to the chat window here real quick and just follow up. Okay, you're going to use lithiums. All right, we'll fix that. That's going to change your battery pack for sure. We'll fix that in just a minute, Tim. Tom Downey, 2 feathers. Let's load the front bouquet. 2 feathers. I'm afraid to get weighed. I might have to toss out those extra toys. Yeah, I pull. There you go, Gary. I pull about 78 watts out of a 100-watt panel charging your battery bank. So you're 22% inefficient, 78% efficient, 78% efficient. Oh yeah, so it looks like 2 feathers got weighed. Yeah, that's overweight's not fun. Sandman's in. Hi guys, so good to see you. All right, so we're just chatting about solar here. I want to run back over to the spreadsheet here real quick, just a minute, and just kind of do a quick review here because it looks like Tim was making some changes, and that's cool. We're going to do 90. And technically, Tim, that's really about 95, depending upon your battery, but 90 is good. Now, your minimum inverter size, this seems to be calculated off the wrong column, all right? The inverter that you're sizing for is AC watts, and we should probably, okay, I can't edit that cell, but that should probably say AC watts. And so what we need there is, let me see if I can do this. Let's see if this works the same. No, it won't let me. We need to know the AC watt maximum use at any particular point in time and at any particular peak. All right. So this is assuming, this number here assumes you're using all of these appliances at the same time. And it comes up obviously 1927 watts. Your solar panel efficiency, I think you could tweak that up a little bit. Solar panels have gotten a bit more efficient. But you might be tweaking that down to accommodate the discussion we had about the sun and how it arcs across the panels and how you're going to get, you know, at solar noon you're going to get the maximum amount of solar gain, and then the rest of the days is, you know, as you on either side of solar noon, it's going to be a little bit less, a little bit less power that you're going to get. So yeah, I'm just seeing here, if see, this is saying 1975, and if I go over here and do the math on AC watts, and by adding that, Tim, we kind of screwed this column up, the meaning of it, but we have 1100, 365, 1465, let's call it 1500. So the maximum number of watts, if you were running all of those at the same time, would be 1500, not 1925 as shown here. Okay, when you're sizing your inverter, when you go to buy an inverter, which I just did today, actually yesterday, you're buying it by the number of AC watts it can generate, and the way I'm reading the spreadsheet there is they're calculating that off of DC watts. And so that's incorrect. That's wrong. All right. So you want to do that off the AC watts. And just my fast math there says 1500. All right. Back to the chat. All righty. Renogy at trailer. Okay, so I just kind of looking over that. Oh, thank you so much, 2 Feathers, for that super chat. Gosh, you know, you're so kind. I really do greatly appreciate that. I did hear an email pop in. Let's see if Scotty, he says he sent some photos. Hang on a second here. I have to do a little cleaning up. Oh, let's see. These are kind of tiny, Scotty. They're really small. If you could resend those. Let's see. I don't know. I'm not going to be able to do justice for those I mean, they're really tiny, like thumbnail size. So if you could resend those a little bit larger, Scotty, I'd love to share them. By the way, it's over half past the hour, and I usually do my cheap plug at the bottom of the hour, and that is, if you like the channel, please give me that thumbs up if you like the content. If you have a question and you're shy and you don't want to put it over in the chat window, feel free to email me, trbolin, BOWLIN, @gmail.com, and we'll answer it offline. I actually got one from David over in Nampa that I'll share here in a minute. Then visit the website, trbolin.com. I'm actually working on a couple of articles for it. I hope to have them published up real quick. Then you can support the channel in other ways by visiting Amazon through the link in the description of this video. Remember, as an affiliate, I get a small commission, but you pay the same price. And then, of course, there's the Renogy link there. We're going to talk about Renogy in a second. And RecPro. RecPro is a great RV supplier of parts and pieces. And I've had a lot of great success using RecPro, and there's some discount codes there that will save you a few dollars. So yesterday, Renogy was having their Cyber Monday sale, and I got my solar charge controller, 50 amp. I got my DC to DC charge controller, 50 amp, and I bought my 2000 watt inverter, and I got the M1 control panel. The cool thing was the Renogy device I got is both the solar charge controller and the DC to DC charge controller. Let me go pop that up for you here and show it to you. I was surprised. I'm glad that I went and checked this out, because otherwise I was going to have to buy both pieces. And they've recently, they just came out with this clearly, because I hadn't noticed it before, that you can get this now. Let's see, where'd it go? Oh, maybe it's not shown here. All right, where's it at? All right, I'm not finding it, folks, so I'm not going to sit there and let you twist in the wind while I look for it. But anyway, they have the combined system now that is both the solar charge controller and the DC to DC charge controller. It sort of makes sense, right? I mean, you know, it's kind of been ridiculous in that you've had to buy both when they're basically the same device. The only exception is that on the solar input, you want to have a charging profile that's appropriate to solar. And then on the DC to DC charge side, on the DC side input, you want to have a charging profile that's more appropriate for that. They're slightly different, but being able to combine them into the same device, I'm surprised that they haven't done that already. Let's just see if I can find it this way. But yeah, I wanted to show this to you because I thought it was really cool. You know, I had considered Victron, of course. I love the Victron stuff, no question about it. Here it is, right here. Okay, let's see if I can make this all work. I'm going to have to do some tweaking and twiddling because my other monitor died. But here it is. I paid $254 for it. And it is both it's an MPPT, which is the best of the solar charge controllers. And it is a DC to DC onboard with the multi-alternator capacity. Built-in voltage sense relay. So it will automatically charge your start battery or your house batteries. Temperature monitoring and voltage adjustment, so it monitors the battery's temperatures, and so on and so forth, and so on and so forth. So I'll let you know how this works out, but to me it looks like Renogy knocked it out of the park with this one. And so, and the price, when you sit down and you work out the price of a 50 amp DC to DC charge controller and a 50 amp solar charge controller, it's about the same amount of money. The nice part of it is that you're into one little piece of equipment, not very big at all. All right, let's see here. Just take a quick look back over here, see if anything else has popped in. All right. So let's go back over to the chat window. All right, sorry, just catching up here. GVW 11,000, they were at 12,280. Yeah, you need to lose some weight, Two Feathers, for sure. You do not want to run down that road over your GVWR. So I'm assuming you're doing that now. Was that with or without the sickle? Without the motorcycle? $254, Tom. I don't know if you caught that, but the cost of that device was $254. So if you have any other questions or comments, go ahead and throw them over there into the chat window. I'm happy to answer those. I was just sitting here kind of glancing at this spreadsheet, making sure that and looking at my notes here. I keep notes on this and that I hadn't missed anything. Tim, I hope that made sense, and I hope it does make sense to everybody else. I'm going to twiddle and tweak with this a little bit, and I'll save it as a, with an extension so that you know which one it is, Tom or Tim, so you can go back and reuse it. Just trying to think here if there's anything that oh yeah, something went wonky here. Let me go back over here real quick because I was going to mention this, and then for some reason I got distracted. Something shiny went by. Something went wonky here when I changed the available battery capacity, which seems weird. I22B24. Okay, I22. Interesting. Yeah, there's something really not quite right with this number here on that battery size calculation. Okay, so what that's supposed to do, if we come back down here to the 50%, and it seemed a little bit more reasonable at 50%. Yeah, see, that still isn't making any sense. So, but what the general concept is that you should do as one of the design specifications that you want to stick with is how many days of battery do I need to have if I'm going to live off grid? Okay, because it rains. You're not going to have good solar on rainy days. So you're going to be living more off your batteries, and your batteries are not going to be getting recharged because there's not going to be as much sun. So the sweet spot is 2 days. So you want to have enough battery capacity to support yourself for 2 days. All right. That's, I guess, what I'm trying to say is that those numbers they're showing there at this point are not good. They're not right. The reason I say that is that we've already come up here and decided that we need 334 amp hours. All right. And so there's... Yeah, something got broke on it. I see Tim's comment there. We'll revisit this next week after I get a chance to work on this spreadsheet a little bit. But what I'm trying to argue here is that, let me pop over to the spreadsheet just one more time, and then we'll call this one good. This says we need 334 amp hours, okay? And we have 405 amp hours available. There's 50% of that available. We really didn't talk about that. It was a little bit past the discussion that I wanted to have. So that really means 200. And so we really only have 3/4 of a day of capacity and the way this system is designed right now. So you would need to up this quite a bit, the battery amp hours available, to go 2 days. If we go up to 90%, of course, that helps quite a bit. Because then you're getting like 360 amp hours out of your batteries. That's a full day and a little bit extra. So you would get 1 day off your battery pack if you didn't charge all day, if you got no input at all. That might be something that we can chat about next week, is talking about how to adjust for the variability in the solar, the amount of solar you're going to gain. Okay, so Daryl Taz asks, what is the best way to insulate a generator for below zero weather? Honestly, put a block heater on it. If you need it to run, for sure. The problem with insulating a generator is that if you insulate it against the cold, when you run it, it gets super hot. Okay, they need that air moving around to help cool them off. And so if it needs to run, you need to have it reliable. I would invest in a block heater. You could get a small block heater, a little tank heater. Get like the old days, back when, I live in cold weather, but, you used to be able to get a tank heater, a Cat's tank heater. You can get them really inexpensively. You can get a smallish one. You don't need to get 1,000 watt. You're not heating that big of a motor. So you might be able to get a 400 watt Cat's tank heater, and that would be the way to keep it ready to run. If it's got antifreeze in it, then it should be appropriate to the temperature that you're running it at, 0 degrees. The oil, of course, you should probably be running a little thinner oil based on the manufacturer's recommendations. But 1030, 530 probably is what you would want to run for oil in zero weather. Maybe even a little thinner than that. I would again refer to the manufacturer's recommendations. But insulating it, like I say, is a little bit difficult, because when you do run it, if it's in an insulated box, it's going to get super hot. Now the alternative to that is to be able to open up that box when it's running, right, and get that air moving through there. So that would be my recommendations. If I was going to pick an insulation, I would use foam, open cell foam, Foamular, or any of those foam panels that you can get from your favorite home improvement store. That's what I would use. I would build a box that I could take the front and back off, so I could move air through it. That would keep it insulated from the super cold. But if you need it to be reliable and start, I would, and you have 110 power available, then I would go with an inexpensive tank heater or an oil pan heater. Either one of those would work great to help keep that engine ready to start and run. I hope that helps, Daryl. Okay, so Tom, let's see, Tom, get the email I sent. Let's see here. It's got bigger pictures from Scott. Cool. Let me do a send and receive here real quick. Alrighty, cool. Let's do this. Wow, that's a nice ride. Okay, I'll prop this back over there. So that's Scotty's rig. It's an S&S truck camper, really nice one. Looks like a 1-ton Dodge. Yeah, it looks like a really nice rig there, Scotty. Hang on here, I'll just pop back and forth while I open new messages so I can keep email addresses and stuff private. There we go. Let's look at this one. Oh, that's a nice ride right there. What's in the toy hauler? Is that your Forerunners and Razors and that kind of stuff? Excellent. I think there's one more here I might share. Let's see. Alrighty. Okay. And I thought, man, never mind. I won't. Nice. That must be on the beach. Oh no, that's a road. A really wet road. Is that snow or sand? Nice ride though. Yeah, I love that S&S. Got the bubble windows. Do your windows leak, Scotty? I was chatting with another S&S owner just the other day via email, and he was telling me about how his windows had leaked. The other thing is, Scotty, have you put drains in the underside of the cab over itself? This is clearly a problem, and I don't know if you've addressed it or not, but the water tends to want to accumulate in the underside of the cab over on the aluminum. Everybody that I have talked to with an S&S has complained about that section rotting out, getting wet, holding water. And so I'm going to go ahead and add a couple of small vents, drains, if you will, just so that I can get that water out of that cab over. And I'll tell you that you've probably seen, if you've been watching the restoration video, that the whole cab over was rotten, but the worst of the rot was the bottom underneath where the water had been accumulating in the aluminum. So nice ride though, dig it, really like it. So that's your tools and stuff, I see. Okay, cool. Yeah, good to know. Right, where are we at time-wise? Wow, that hour went by fast. All right, Tom, let's see. I'll just double check against my other account here. I don't know what it is, Tom. Oh, hey, okay. Go, Homer. Got it. Scott and Scott E. All right, yeah, so I'm confused. Scott, thanks for sending the pictures. Scotty, sorry to confuse you two, but yeah, that's excellent. Let me go back to that just real quick. Where was I? Nice ride. Yeah, really nice. All right, I've made a mess of my desktop trying to run stuff down, and it's a good thing the stream's about to end here because I've got quite the mess going now, trying to run stuff down. So, Tom, I have not seen your email. We have had this trouble before. I'm checking spam. Nothing. I give up. Sorry. Oh, flooded Fort Pickens. Gotcha. All right. Last call for questions. Okay, I'm going to be back. I'm going to go ahead and do one live stream next Tuesday. Then I believe the following Tuesday I'm going to be out of pocket. That's still up in the air, but I might not be available that following Tuesday. I'll know next week. But yeah, so and then I think I might take off around Christmas just to take a break. Hang on here. So yeah, that's a little bit of housekeeping. All right. So there's that. I did get one more email that I do want to share because it had a really interesting picture in it, asking me. All right. So hold on here. Let me get the other one up. Okay, sorry, I thought. Alrighty, this will get us there. So, a fellow regular viewer over in Nampa, which is just to the east of me, it's over in the Boise Valley, and I'm in eastern Idaho, sent these pictures to me. This is actually from a Reddit post. And I thought I had them both right here. Okay, so this apparently is from a fellow that is winterizing his rig, and this solution came out from underneath this. All right, let me double check and just make sure everybody can see. All right, so my response was, you got a leak. You got a leak behind that wall. It's probably been leaking for a while. Why that is black, it's hard to say. It almost looks brownish. There could be some kind of a waterproofing layer between that shower wall and the wall of the RV. That could be like black mold tea. All right. It could be maybe some other kind of waterproofing, but whatever that is a sure sign there is a huge leak behind this faucet adapter right here in this wall. And if that is black mold, that is a real big problem. And nasty to boot. I asked if there was any smell or, anything like that. I haven't heard back on it yet. But I thought that was an interesting one that came in that I thought I'd share with folks. All right, let me get over here and check out and see where we're at. Scotty, yep, I'm a little older. Oh, well, I didn't even really pay that much attention. I'm old. I'm 62. So, absolutely, Scott. Feel free. Email those questions, trbolden@gmail.com. And let me just go check the spam real quick, Tom. I mean, like I say, I have not purposely blocked you in any way, shape, or form. I do not know why we have such a hard time communicating. Not in the spam. I'm getting email from Scott, Scotty206. Yeah, that's the young Scott. How about we go with Scott and Scotty? Scott is the young Scott. Scotty is the gray hair like me. Or us, maybe I should say. Tom asked a question earlier, and I scrolled by it, and I wanted to address that. He said, is it air-cooled or water? That would really only matter as far as what kind of a heater you would get, and that's why I kind of changed my mind while I was chatting about it and said to get oil pan heater. They're magnetic. They just magnet to the bottom or the side of the oil pan, and that way it would work either if it was air-cooled or water-cooled. Either way, putting it in a box, you would have to open it if you're running the generator, period, in a conversation, or that generator would cook itself in no time at all. If you're insulating it against 0-degree weather and you're running it inside of that box, it's going to cook in no time. True, Tom. True, Tim. He says, compared to Tom Downey, we're all young. Yeah, Tom has shoes older than I am. Catfisher. That's the new word of the year, isn't it? All right, thanks, folks. We're rambling here. I had a great time. I hope you learned something tonight. That's always our mission here, is to try to help you learn something, answer your questions, and just enjoy ourselves. So thanks. I look forward to hearing from you, Scott. Feel free to email me any questions you might have. I'm happy to try to help you out, especially with your SNS. As far as I've gotten mine tore apart, I pretty much know them inside and out now. And with that, we'll see you next Tuesday night, 7 p.m. Mountain Time. And until then, peace. Good night. You're welcome, Daryl. Right, Tom. That's what I was saying as a tank heater. The old Cat's water tank heaters. Basically, you put it in. They used to go in the heater hose. But you wouldn't have a heater hose on a generator, on a gen set usually. And that's why I was thinking, congratulations, Tom. 82 is cool. We tease you. It's all in good nature, of course. All the teasing is all in good nature. But yeah, you're welcome, Daryl. Good night, Scott T. Good night, Scott. We'll see you guys next week.